So good morning. It's been a while since I've done a video, which I apologize for. But in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why I felt overwhelmed. And more importantly, I'm going to share a couple of tips of what I've done to deal with that. It's really early in the morning as I'm recording this. I'm going to take the camera with me in a minute. I'm going to go for a run. But I'm going to share a couple of tips of how to deal with overwhelm. So if you are overwhelmed like I've been, watch this video because I'm hoping this is going to help. Oh, by the way, look how big this little one's got. Hey boy. Come here. Come here. It's like a mini horse. Right guys, so it's 6:15, I believe. I'm just gonna drive about 20 minutes, go meet a friend we're gonna do about 8 miles today, maybe, who knows. But getting up early, cracking on, doing some exercise, trying to get it done. So let's go. So I've just finished up the run. It is 7:40. Went a little bit shorter than we'd expected. Just did just over 6 miles, which was good, feel good. Gonna head home now, jump in the shower. But one of the ways that I've been dealing with overwhelm has been just focusing on my own self-care. So when you're overwhelmed, you've got a to-do list, you've got stuff to do. It's very easy to just focus on that to-do list and focus on work, and work almost overtakes your whole life. But making sure that I get up early, I go for runs, I've been meeting people, so friends, that gives you a bit of accountability to get up early, to meet them, to go for the run. But yeah, just making sure that I spend a bit more time on myself, because you know, we're almost conditioned and wired in a certain way to not focus on our mental health, to not look after ourselves, and you know, to bury our heads in the laptop and bury our heads in work, and to kind of wait until we're broken before we do anything about it. So it's important that every day you're doing something, half an hour, whatever it is, whatever's good for you when it comes to your mental health. That's what's been helping me with overwhelm. I'm gonna jump back, head home, see the kids, jump in the shower, have some food, grab myself a banana to fuel up, and then we're gonna crack on with the day. Okay, so overwhelm. Self-care, as I've already mentioned, is hugely important. If you're feeling overwhelmed right now, trust me, I've been there, right? Same as this morning. Your mind is telling you to focus on what you're feeling overwhelmed about. So if it's work, it's saying to you, don't go for that run because you need to focus on work. That is where your focus needs to be. And when you just focus purely on that, the overwhelm almost becomes worse, right? So this morning, you know, it was the same. I have to almost tell myself, no, I'm gonna go for that run. I'm gonna do something for my mental health. I'm gonna do some mindfulness, some meditation, some journaling. I'm gonna switch off and spend some time with my family. Whatever it is, you have to put your mental health first. It's going to help you deal with overwhelm. But the second tip that I wanted to share with you in this video is perspective, right? So when you're looking at perspective for me is how do you take a step back, reflect, and see this overwhelm in a massively different way. Now, to give you a bit of context, the reason why I've been feeling overwhelmed for a while now is I've got so many projects, right? And when I say so many projects, I've actually stripped it back. And I have this, I wouldn't say ability or skill, to take on a lot of projects. And taking on projects excites me. And I learn so much from different projects. And I don't know whether that's the entrepreneur in me, but I struggle to just settle with one idea, one job, one thing that I'm doing for the rest of my life. That's just me. You know, my wife will always say, not another idea, not another idea. But I've actually stripped that back recently, but still there's a couple of things that I'm obviously working on. The first one is obviously Every Mind at Work. Every Mind at Work is an app. It's a digital platform that we provide to businesses and their employees. We also partner with companies in terms of helping them with their mental health strategy. And for me, this is like my baby. Like, this is my baby. This is what I want to create a long-term sort of, you know, I guess business around, because you know, I wish my dad had a digital platform like this. I wish my dad had a tool like this when he was really struggling. And when we're kind of looking at it that way, it really, for me, is the purpose-driven business. Like, Every Mind is a purpose-driven business that we're helping lots of people with currently, and I just want that to grow. Then equally, what I also have been doing for the last, I would say, 14 months now is Enemy. Enemy.com, you might have heard of it. Mr. Aaron Marino, Alpha M, it's his business. I've known Aaron since 2009, 2010. We've always stayed in touch. And Aaron, started to do a bit of work with him for his social media, and then he was like, Paul, do you want to help me with Enemy? Like, do you want to get involved? And I had the amazing opportunity of course, getting involved and saying yes about 14, 15 months ago. And it's just been something that I love. Like, Enemy is obviously sunglasses. We've now got wallets, accessories. And the reason why I love it is two reasons. The first reason is my first business was brighterman.com, a men's accessories business. It's how I got to know Aaron, because he did a video for me. And, I started that. I was selling accessories whilst my dad was alive. And then when my dad took his own life, it kicked me up the backside to go and start a business. And that business was brighterman.com. And it failed. Like, it was a big failure in terms of, how much money I probably put in and how much money I expected to get out and how much money I actually walked away with, right? But I learned so much from that business. And now with Enemy, it's like I've come full circle. It's like an accessories brand again, a much cooler, better accessories brand with a lot more potential. And for me, that's a massive benefit. And the second one is just how much, I hope he doesn't watch this, how much I learned from Mr. Aaron Marino. Like, he is a beast. He is someone who is compassionate. He is someone who is kind. He is someone who is grateful. He is someone who doesn't micromanage people. He just trusts in them and their abilities. And I've learned so much from him during this journey, during this experience, and that's helped me grow Every Mind. And what I've learned from him, he's benefiting Every Mind, and what I'm learning from Every Mind is hopefully benefiting Enemy and Aaron. So, for me, it's a kind of match made in heaven that I hope I can continue for as long as I possibly can. And then there's other projects, like And Together is another project where I teamed up with a guy called Chris, who was diagnosed with cancer. He's got his own journey. He wants to help more people, where, we're trying to raise some money to just help individuals that are in crisis now. The last year has been pretty hectic for a lot of people. So there's so much going on. But perspective is about me stepping back, right? Stepping back and looking at it in a different way. Yes, I'm overwhelmed. But does this actually matter? Is what I'm worried about actually as big of a deal as my mind is making it? And perspective for me reminds me of my brother. My brother had an accident 4 years ago, left him with brain damage, left him in the hospital for 11 and a half months. Like, I've spoken about this before. I don't actually talk about it that much. My brother went from someone who went to work one day to being in a coma, fighting for his life, to coming out of that coma and not being able to see, not being able to talk, not being able to move even a finger. And, the guy's an inspiration, right? I get a bit emotional when I talk about him, and my mum. But yeah, like, the guy's an inspiration. Like, he's still battling away today, but what he's been able to achieve in 4 years is amazing. And whenever I feel overwhelmed, I think about my brother and one thing that he said to me in hospital once. When he was in hospital, it was about 4 or 5 months after his accident. I don't think he could see at the time. And he just said to me, I don't know why I ever worried about work. And that for me is what perspective is. Here I am, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I've got to make sure I send this email. I've got to do this. I've got to make sure I do this for Enemy. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Oh, I've got to make sure I spend some. And then you step back and you're like, you put it into perspective and you think to yourself, does this actually matter, right? My mind's telling me it matters, but does it actually matter? And then those words ring in my ears. I don't know why I ever worried about work. And I think about my brother's situation of being in that hospital after what he'd just been through. And I think to myself, will he be worried about not sending that email? Of course not, because perspective for him is about making sure that he's getting better, and an email seems minuscule in terms of his sort of issues that he's dealing with in that time. So perspective, if you have the ability to be able to do that, it's taking a step back, it's reflecting, it's maybe journaling, it's just making sure that you look at it in a different light. Yes, I feel overwhelmed. Yes, I'm not saying those emotions aren't justified, but take a step back, see it in a different light, put it into perspective, and then actually feel grateful for what you've got. Because trust me, what you've got right now, some people and lots of people would probably be wishing for as well. So perspective is the second way that I've been dealing with overwhelm. Another tip for dealing with overwhelm, I'm just going to head to grab myself a quick little drink, is to deal with people pleasing. Now, if you're a people pleaser, you might find yourself dealing with overwhelm a little bit more than others. Now, what I mean by that is typically when we feel overwhelmed, there might be this expectation that we're putting on ourselves that comes from the fact that we try to please others. So if we're talking about work, we're feeling overwhelmed with work, maybe it's because we have false expectations of what people expect of us, right? So let's say you're working and you're feeling overwhelmed because you've got so much work to do. Sometimes if you're a people pleaser, you feel like you're letting other people down, and that creates overwhelm. Sometimes you might be working away, and your mind's sort of telling you that you're not doing a good enough job, it's putting you down, that person's gonna get annoyed at you, and you're trying to please others. And when we're people pleasers, it really impacts how overwhelmed we feel. So one of the things that I've used to sort of deal with the personality that I've got of always trying to please others is to really have open conversations with people. You know, if you're worried that your boss is judging your performance or you're not doing a good enough job, have a serious conversation with them and ask them for constructive feedback. You know, how do you feel like I'm doing? And typically when you have those conversations, it squashes that almost self-doubt that we have, because that person might reinforce and reaffirm that we're doing a good job, and that can really help with that overwhelm too. And then I think another real key part of it as well, and something that sticks in my mind, is the average person has 70,000 thoughts a day. And we're stuck here as people pleasers, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like we're letting people down, when really everyone else is just thinking about themselves, right? They have enough stuff to deal with themselves. They're probably overwhelmed themselves as well. So really we're not that important to worry about everyone else. All you need to do is focus on yourself. Put yourself first, because that is massively important. So if you're a people pleaser and you're overwhelmed, hopefully those tips are going to help you as well. Also guys, before I make a quick drink, I don't know if you can see this, the wife is probably not going to like this. The reason why I'm showing you this here in the bottom of the garden is because this is my office that we're actually currently is in construction. So this is an old garage that we're actually converting into a playroom for the kids / office. So the office is going to be this side here. So all of that there is my office, and then the other side is obviously the garage, the playroom for the kids. The garden is really messy at the moment, but I wanted to show you that in this video because I'm sure you're going to see it soon as these videos progress. Gotta drink that H2O. Okay, then the final tip for dealing with overwhelm, let me just grab my water, is to be kind to yourself. We often overcomplicate life, right? We overcomplicate life, and we often overcomplicate a lot of what we've got going on. But when we look at it in a more simplistic way and we're kind to ourselves, it can really help us deal with that overwhelm. So to give you an example of that, there's this almost real pressure that we put on ourselves to always be 100%, to always be able to manage stress, to be able to deal with a really long to-do list, to be able to deal with everything that you have to deal with potentially as a parent, as a son, as a daughter, whatever it is. You know, we have these almost pressures that we put on ourselves. And how often are we actually kind to ourselves? And what I mean by that is just kind of taking a step back and patting yourself on the back and tell yourself that you're doing a good job. Because it becomes so easy for us to put ourselves down, to feel overwhelmed without realizing how amazing we're doing, like the good job that we're doing, and actually seeing what we're doing well. So being kind to yourself is important because you're not going to be 100% all the time. You know, especially with mental health, it's a roller coaster of emotions. Sometimes you're going to feel good, sometimes you're going to feel bad. But it's being okay with those emotions, accepting those emotions. And at the same time, it really is about being kind to yourself. So if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, I'll raise a glass of water to you. Just be kind to yourself. You deserve it. And trust me, this overwhelm can pass if you apply these tips today. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. I do miss YouTube. I've got a strange relationship with YouTube, but I miss the engagement. Please do comment below. I miss a lot of you guys from my old videos. I do want to make more, and I keep saying this, but I watched some of my old videos the other day, and even though I was cringing and secretly throwing up a little bit in my mouth, especially at some of the old style and fashion videos, it was kind of nice to look back and kind of see how stuff's, you know, changed. And I've got some really exciting projects, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning of this video, which I kind of want to look back on over the next 5 or 10 years, and I feel doing these kind of videos will help. Appreciate that you can also notice that my hair is getting ridiculously long just because I'm not allowed to get a haircut here in the UK. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video helped. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you all in a video hopefully very soon. I'm not going to let you guys down again. Speak soon.